I don't know if a stand-in for Eco. He's sort of a philosopher, Franciscan friar. He's not a monk, he's a friar. A person who's interested in science and interested in the world and how things work. And, as we know about Eco, that he was a professor of semiotics, so there's always a meaning behind the meaning, behind the meaning, behind the meaning. So he touches on all these modern topics, Eco does, through William and the plot and the other characters, too, who are quite erudite. All the characters are. And I think it may even be more relevant now than it was even when the book came out. I mean, he talks about women, talks about religion, talks about heretics, outcasts, how people split. He talks about lust. He talks about, how you can figure one thing out, but then it means something else. There's just a lot of beautiful philosophy in the book, which you can't do in a 2-hour movie. And so I really pushed hard to bring Eco back into his own story. And Giacomo Battiato agreed with me. He talks about modern politics, about how people are afraid to teach people who are illiterate too much. And if you do, that can scare them. So there's so many wise, great speeches that we have. And I also was interested in bringing an understanding of the Franciscan order, which a lot of people don't really understand, including myself. I had to read a lot of books on it. And I really was hoping that all the characters would be rich, because in the book, it's really rich. And in 2-hour movie is hard. You have to kind of make the characters more maybe grotesque or overt. So, but I've been working on it for about a year. I've been working on the script with Giacomo, and that has never stopped. And then Damian really joined us, and he's a real discovery. He plays Damian Hardung. He plays Otso, and he's just really perfect. And we've had a very great, really good relationship. A project like this you can work on for years. There's never enough time, enough money. It could be 10 hours long. We could have used more pre-production time just to work on, to make sure the script was all perfectly ready, because everyone needs that information. And since we changed it, that affects the design, that affects everything. But I think we've had a good spirit of collaboration with John Conroy. But John's been a really terrific collaborator with Giacomo and the designers too, of course, and makeup and hair, and it's a big job. And the hours here, you shoot less hours than we shoot in America. We shoot like a longer day. We've gone longer than we thought, and they still have quite a lot to do, and that you see, because Otso in the book tells the story as an old man, which we don't do. So there's a lot of, he was a philosopher, Eco, really. He was an essayist. I think his first book is on medieval aesthetic on Aristotle. The whole idea of how you can laugh at something and not, it brings to mind all the extremists that we see, the cartoonists who were killed and stuff like that. If you make fun of something, of any religion, people say, well, that's sacrilegious. And Eco's not saying that it's right. He's saying maybe people should be careful. In some of his essays, he talks about that. But the idea of just satire or comedy, forget about towards religion, towards anything, is a big threat to people, because you're making fun of something and you're not taking it serious. You have to remember, during this time, all these books were burned, music was burned. Certainly wasn't a progressive time for women. If she was like this evil person, which a lot of people say, well, you have to be careful, of the power of the woman and everything, and which has continued and continues today. And we think because we have all these things, it's changed, but it doesn't change that much. Especially when people don't absorb what has come before them and incorporate the wisdom. At one time, big learning center like in 800 was like in Iran, You know, it was like the House of Wisdom, you know, and they were taking these books and translating them. They were translating, you know, Aristotle, saving it, keeping it alive. And we see, you know, in all these times like going on right now, you know, the first line of fire, it was writers and intellectuals and thinkers, professors, teachers, and they're the first people who are in the line of fire. And we see all these strong men coming to answer the prayers of the underlings. It's really cool. I mean, I say almost everything I would say 80% of what I say is echo, or 90%. There's things we've taken some liberties to explain St. Francis, but from books about St. Francis, just so people will know. But we maybe made a scene with lepers to introduce, because some stuff we had to invent because he's not really introduced in the book, but it's very close. I mean, I have whole speeches about lust. It's the book. I mean, it's edited down, but it's still, you know, if you can do that in an entertaining way, that's the idea, not in a didactic, dry way. So, and that's hard to do because you can't muscle it. And when we tried to, it didn't work. You have to find it, the light of discovery, and so it's very close to echo. The Italian actors have been wonderful, and they've been acting in English. I just mentioned like Stefano Frese and Fabrizio Bentivoglio, Herlicka, he's fantastic. Roberto Herlicka, and they've done a wonderful job. We have great designers and hair and makeup, and you know, I keep telling everybody, I said, you know, I think there's so many talented people here. Sometimes the American approach to things, the only thing they have is they have more money and they have really good organization, but sensibilità is not better, and they don't have better craftspeople either. So sometimes we've struggled because we weren't ready always to, but we've worked very well together. I love working in Italy, and yeah, you know, it's been a hard job because we've always been working on it, and I've had like no time to do anything, even Saturdays and Sundays. Really, my brain has been like echoed out. I think we've gotten lost a lot into echo. Sometimes we don't know where the hell we are, and that has happened frequently. But sometimes we figured out that we don't understand it, and that's been like our weekends, you know, figuring out the labyrinth, for example, and what really works and not. So it's been a daily adventure. So I can't really talk about it. That'll take me a while to comment. It's been a long time, and I'll be following, but they have important things to do, and I don't feel like, you know, it's over. They have to finish it and edit it, and they'll maybe show me some rough cuts and stuff like that. So, because I'm involved as like executive producer and all this stuff, I've been very involved in it. So I don't know how I got so involved in it, but I'm glad I am.